Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube. And I recently watched the first two episodes of the new Fox series, The Exorcist, and I wanted to share some really interesting messages that I found specifically in the second episode. This falls right in line with a subject we cover a lot here on the channel. It's predictive programming and social engineering that takes place in a lot of our media. It really is interesting how often popular TV shows and popular movies and things like that are literally mirroring things that are happening in our reality. For instance, you may have noticed over the last few years there are tons of movies and TV shows coming out about the devil or about demonic possession. Another theme I see time and time again is this idea of a human woman giving birth to a demonic baby, a devil baby. We even had this movie come out just not long ago called The Witch, and I actually put this in a few different videos, but spoiler alert for The Witch, this is a movie that was pro-Satanism. It was so pro-Satanism that many Satanists in the real world actually promoted this film. And the reason why is, after you watch it, you realize that essentially the message that The Witch is trying to give across to you is how awesome it is to make a deal with the devil. So if you make a deal with the devil, you can seriously have anything you want, even magical powers. And it's not just movies that are blatantly about the devil or demonic possession or anything like that, or TV shows like that as well. It's a theme. You see this theme playing out a lot over the last few years as well. It's this theme of sympathy for the devil, or I did evil things for my family. I did evil things for the greater good. So this is a subject I've covered extensively on this channel, and it's about modern-day demonic possession or mass demonic possession, and how so often in a lot of these cases the mainstream media immediately blames it on bath salts or K2 or some kind of drugs, but we've debunked that multiple times here on this channel because so many times they'll have one of these attacks, right? They say it's a cannibal attack or a zombie attack, and the person's really acting crazy like an animal. Oftentimes they strip off their clothes, they're biting victims and things like this, right? Media always says it's got to be drugs, it's got to be drugs, but more than 50% of the ones I've looked into, once they do the toxicology, they find out there's no drugs at all in the person's system. So isn't it interesting, after all these years of programming with all these demonic possession movies and TV shows, we're starting to see a lot of this stuff in the real world. We're getting cases like this right here, stories like this. Exorcist warns vampire ritual killings on the rise after spate of satanic initiation murders. And we have stories like this, which is much more direct and to the point. Emergency need for exorcists as interest in the occult continues to rise. Surge of interest in Satanism and black magic have created an urgent need. Exorcists are in urgent demand as a result of a sharp rise in people dabbling in Satanism and the occult. Walter Cascioli, a psychologist and scientific consultant to the International Association of Exorcists, which is endorsed by the Vatican, described as an emergency the lack of priests capable of actually fighting these forces of evil. The lack of exorcists is a real emergency. There is a pastoral emergency as a result of a significant increase in the number of diabolical possessions that exorcist priests are confronting. And now, of course, while all of this is actually happening in the real world, they're actually having an emergency because they don't believe they have enough exorcists to fight the mass amount of possessions. We have the Exorcist TV show. And in this television show, they're battling the same thing. It's multiple demonic possessions. But the second episode, man, they really showed a couple things, and these are subjects we talk about all the time here on the channel. I want to show you what they showed us here in the second episode of The Exorcist, and I'm also going to show you another television series that's covering something very similar. There have been countless stories on this subject of the rise of the psychopath, the rise of the narcissist in modern society. So this part is all theory on my part and some speculation, but looking back to what we were just talking about, the rise of demonic possession, we're seeing this all around the world, and again, I've covered this extensively here. Well, these demonic entities, they need a place to call home. So what if that's what we're seeing? What if these terrors are actually the sociopaths, the psychopaths, the narcissists, the most extreme examples of these things, people that will never really know love? But what if these are the hollow humans among us that are literally being taken over by these demonic forces? It also harkens back to this commercial right here. I recently saw this over on Jonathan Kleck's channel. It's an old commercial for Toyota, for their Scion car, and they literally have little demons killing the sheep. In the game, a Vincent Price-esque narrator announces that a race of dull, monochromatic sheeple have spread their gray disease throughout the world. A Toyota sedan then drives past carrying a carload of, quote, little deviants, which are little demons in this, mischievous, bloodthirsty midget demons. Your mission is to use these demons to pummel, slice, and dismember legions of roaming sheeple. In the first level, you slap the helpless, bleeding creatures until they spew blood and pass out. In another, you rough them up in a sewer and watch their body parts fall off. And at the end of the game, the neon green sheeple blood that you've accumulated is used to fuel a factory that produces the Toyota Scion. So this isn't from the commercial, it's from part of the ad campaign, but they have these little demons all over the place in different cities. If you haven't seen the commercial yet, you should really check it out, because you're going to be scratching your head. What are they really trying to sell you here is the question. Because in the actual car commercial, you do see these demons slaughtering the sheep and beheading the sheep. All kinds of stuff. It's really gruesome. And on a side note, Jonathan Kleck himself is covering this subject as well, but he has his own angle on all this. So if you're unfamiliar with Jonathan Kleck or his work, please check it out. I personally find it all very fascinating, because he too is covering this subject in the sense that it's two races becoming one, that there are literally two races here on the planet. There's one race, which would be the kind of sheeple, the people that are just living their lives and everything's cool. There's the other race, which is of the enemy, that's fully aware of the sheeple, like the rest of the people in the world, and they're literally feeding off of them. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background on this subject, because the subject shows up in the Exorcist TV series. It's a screenshot from the show right here. Now the person on the couch is dead, and the guy in the kitchen has no idea he just came home. Because it turns out that in the series, there's actually a growing army of people that are demonically possessed. And they're all working together. And as you can see right here in the screenshot, one of them's coming out of somebody else's house. This isn't just some regular neighborhood right here. And all these people are going into these people's homes and they're killing the sheep. They're killing the innocent. The people that are just living their lives. They have no idea. There's a short scene inside one of the people's houses where it shows what these people are doing. And they are dismembering these people, and they're taking a lot of their body parts. And then they all walk through the neighborhood, and they put it inside this big truck, all their boxes, and there's a bunch of these people, and then they drive away. This was just the end of the second episode, so again, I imagine that we're going to be finding out more about this, but isn't it interesting that once again we find that theme of the tares, the wheat and the tares, of the satanic super soldiers, the race of beings that live amongst us. They look like us, they talk like us, but they're not like us. There's one more image I want to show you that really stood out in this episode. Before I do, I'll show you this one right here. Just a little side bit right here I wanted to share with you, but this is a girl in the series that's demonically possessed. At one point she throws up because her mother tricks her and gives her some holy water to drink. So the girl acts normal, leaves the room, runs to the bathroom, and she throws up, that's right, black goo. So black goo is another one of those subjects we cover quite a bit around here. It's a very popular subject in so-called conspiracy communities. So we also find the black goo in Outcast, and also really countless other TV shows and movies. The black goo oftentimes is seen as either programmable matter or something demonic, some form of a demonic possession. It comes in the form of this black goo. Something else interesting though about this TV show Outcast is that it's playing on similar themes that we're talking about, just like the Exorcist TV series. Outcast is all about this young man right here teaming up with a preacher, the guy back there behind him, because their small town is being overrun by demonic possession. It's very interesting the way they handle demonic possession in this TV series, because it's literally watching these demons learn to be human. They're just fitting into that shell of a human that they've taken over, and that's what it is. Like some of these demons have family members that take care of them, right, and try to teach them. These demons essentially are having to learn that, you can't just go crazy. You can't just go bite people and stuff like that. You have to learn to be human. And at this point, at least half, if not more, of that town is demonically possessed. But it's interesting, once again, because they walk amongst us. They look like us. They talk like us. They have jobs. They have families, right? It's hard to tell that they're actually possessed. All this goes back to that idea of the wheat and the tares, or two races, right, living on the same planet. One completely unaware, and the other one very much aware. And there's an even more interesting connection between Outcast TV series and the Exorcist TV series. In Outcast, it's all taking place in a small town called Rome, which takes us back to the Exorcist TV series. And this right here is the last image, it's the last frame of the second episode on The Exorcist. And seeing this really gave me chills. He is coming. It's obviously the Pope with his back to us, right? That certainly doesn't seem very welcoming, does it? He is coming. Seems very sinister, yeah? It's almost like a hint that the Pope himself is the Antichrist. And of course we have the obvious tie-in there between Rome and Outcast and all the demonic possession and the Exorcist TV series here and this image right here at the very end. So that's what I wanted to show you. I find it very interesting, as I've said, that how often we see these things mirroring our own reality. So if that's the case, what is it that we can expect in our own reality from this image right here? Either way, it's something to think about. I think it's very interesting stuff. Thank you very much for checking out the video, guys. Take care out there, and I'll talk to you real soon.